Hello everyone and welcome to the Smashy Business Show. Today is Monday, July 28, 2025. I'm Abdul Majid Awan.
And I'm Wamda Ahmed, and we've got a packed show for you today. Firstly, we will discuss how Saudi Arabia publishes new law on foreign property ownership. Secondly, Huda Beauty and Saint Levant have redirected the money from their Clementina collab to the Gaza relief via Doctors Without Borders. And Etihad is ready to welcome Wizz Air Dhabi staff as Airline shuts down in the city. And finally, Wamda Capital's Fadi Ghandour calls starvation in Gaza pure evil, and we'll get into that more.
Yeah, and the very first story is Saudi Arabia has officially published a new law allowing foreigners to own real estate in the kingdom. Before that, we did a story which was like they have done it, but this time the whole, I think it's like 70 or 80 pages of rules and laws. So it marks one of the most significant changes to property regulations in years in the kingdom. The law was published in the Al Qura Gazette and will take effect 180 days from the date of publication. So that means nearly 6 months. 80?
I believe so.
6 months. So, by the end of this year.
So, under the new law, non-Saudis, including individuals, companies, and non-profits, will be allowed to own or lease property in designated zones. So, the rights include ownership, leaseholds, and other property interests. However, ownership will remain subject to limits based on location, property type, and purpose.
While this law opens up large parts of the real estate market, Makkah and Medina will remain restricted. Obviously, exceptions will apply only to individual Muslim owners under strict conditions. Meanwhile, foreign residents can own one residential property for personal use, but only outside restricted zones.
So the Council of Ministers will determine where foreign ownership is permitted and set limits on property size and lease duration. So corporate entities, investment funds, and even diplomatic missions are covered under the law, but all must register property ownership with the National Real Estate Registry.
And violations could result in fines of up to 10 million Saudi riyals or even forced property sales. The law replaces a 2000 decree and is part of Saudi Arabia's broader push to attract foreign investment under Vision 2030. Full regulations are expected within 6 months, so keep an eye out. You can own it.
Yeah, I think this is so exciting, and they're doing it in a way that is very religiously sound.
Yeah.
And I think that's what is so important. So if you know Islam and you know Saudi Arabia, you know that number one, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, Saudi Arabia is his birthplace. Secondly, the Kaaba, the holiest site for Muslim people, is also in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And every single year, Saudi Arabia will welcome over 1 million Muslims for Hajj and Umrah. So, the fact that they're making sure that this is religiously sound is so important, is especially for Muslims and especially for the great sites that are all housed in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, it's very important because it's the center of the world for Islam. It's the center of the globe for all Muslims. Everyone travels there for Umrah, Hajj. Hajj is once a year. Umrah you can do throughout the year. There's just some restricted periods when they're cleaning or they're preparing for the Hajj. Otherwise, you can do Umrah all year round. That's like the two main holy sites, Makkah and Medina. Makkah has the Haram Sharif, the Kaaba. Medina has the Prophet's Mosque and
Masjid al-Nabawi.
Yeah, Masjid al-Nabawi. And so these two are restricted for now. I think the only thing that they would allow, which logically makes sense, is if we saw a recent Dubai residential REIT. So if there is state companies, real estate companies, not estate companies, real estate companies which own some part of Saudi Arabia, you can invest in their shares. But before that, even that was prohibited. No non-Muslim was allowed to buy shares of a property dealer or any constructor or developer who builds things in Makkah and Medina. And even then, if you buy out all of it, you can buy only 49%. So majority owner will always be a Muslim,
Yeah.
always be a local Saudi.
But you know,
But other cities, I think
it's
it's
interesting
good.
though, Majid, that they're providing these exception for individual Muslims because in the end of the day, we all know that just because we all share the same religion, that does not necessarily mean that we all share the same ethics and morals. I think everyone has different degrees that they abide by, but the fact that it's under strict conditions does give me a lot of hope, and we will see what more they're going to tell us about this in the future, because we have been seeing that this story has developed a lot.
Yeah. And by the end of the year, we'll have a very clear-cut picture, because a lot of initial investment will start coming in. People will start looking for places in Jeddah, Riyadh. There's so many, Khubar, Al-Ula, all these places I know because of their seasons, because everyone has a season, Al-Ula season, Riyadh season, Jeddah season. It's a set of events that happen in those cities. The main thing I think is it's good because Saudi Arabia needs money. They need money to make the NEOM project a reality. They need money to move away from oil. They need money for a lot of reasons. And one of the things that you can do best, which you've seen in the UAE, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Sharjah even now, every day I see a Sharjah news report about Sharjah prices going up as well. And I'm like, okay, where are we moving next? The Sharjah people, if the rents are going up and the prices are going up. But you have a very nice blueprint in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, in Sharjah, in the whole of UAE, how to handle properties, the freehold property, which you can own 100%, the government-led properties. So we have a very nice blueprint. Saudi Arabia should follow it. And for all the other cities, it's a lot of money that will come in because, again, recently Dubai, Abu Dhabi, best tax countries, safest countries, top 10. Saudi Arabian cities were also there. So it's a safe place. It's a nice place. If you're a Muslim, it's the perfect place because you have the house of God. You can go and do Umrahs and Hajj also. So yeah, very nice investment. I personally think a lot of Muslims will go first. A lot of foreign Muslims who belong to other countries are not Saudi locals. They will go in first. They will invest first, and then foreign properties will also follow.
You really think so?
Yeah, Muslims would love to own a
No,
place in that country.
I completely agree with you, but
Yeah.
I think for me, what came as a shock to me is the second that Saudi Arabia starts opening up, you have someone like Adam Newman, the Israeli businessman, who immediately established his real estate venture Flow in Saudi. It's already a unicorn.
Yeah.
It's valued at over $1 billion. So I'm not sure if I agree with the fact of Muslims will immediately follow.
See, if I am given the option to buy a property in the Holy Land, in Saudi Arabia, basically, I would happily take it because one, Muslim, two, very near to the Makkah. You can have a weekend trip for Umrah. That's a very nice feeling to have. My wife grew up with that, so I understand it from her perspective. I've never lived in Saudi Arabia for a longer period. So from her perspective, it was like a weekend thing, going for Umrah. Right now, anyone from any country in the world, if you have money, sometimes it's a visa problem, sometimes it's closed, sometimes this, sometimes that. But for locals, it's like a normal mosque. They just go. It's like open to everyone. They
And
can
just
just
for
easily
more
go,
context, guys, for every single Muslim, at least once in your life, Hajj is an obligation. That is 100%.
If you have the means.
But it is one of the
Yeah.
most important things that every single one of us has to undertake.
It's the fifth pillar. If you go in order of preference, first is the kalama, second is namaz, 5 times every day, and then you go on, and the fifth pillar is Hajj. Sixth, which is not obligatory but is very emphasized upon, is jihad. It's a very different definition from what you've heard on Western media. But yeah, there's jihad bil ilm. When I was reading about jihad, the first thing was like that jihad bil sayf, the jihad with sword, is the last one. You have to do. You can do jihad. Self-control is jihad. So there's a very weird definition that the Western media has made of jihad. Every time we say, oh, he's a jihadist, he's doing this and
Sean
that.
Maguire flashbacks.
Yeah, right? But jihad is very simple. You learn, you get education, that's jihad bil ilm, that you're getting education. If you self-control, that's jihad bil nafs. So self-control is also a form of jihad. But we've been only told about the sword, but yeah, we'll discuss it someday else. Let's move on to the next story, and it's about another good move that is coming out of Huda Beauty, and we've known since we've been here, we've covered a lot of things that she's done, gave a lot of money, and now beauty brand Huda Beauty and Palestinian, French, Algerian artist Saint Levant have redirected their $210,000 in proceeds from their collaborative product Clementina to Médecins Sans Frontières, basically Doctors Without Borders. That's the French name for it. And the move comes in response to the deepening humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
So the collaboration was launched earlier, just a week ago, and featured a lip oil inspired by the clementine fruit, a symbolic nod to Palestinian heritage. So originally, the full proceeds were set to support agricultural initiatives in Palestine, but with access to food and aid now critically blocked, the partners have shifted their focus to urgent medical relief.
And in a joint statement, both Huda Beauty and Saint Levant, whose real name is Marwan Abdulhamid, emphasized that humanitarian needs in Gaza had reached a tipping point. They added that the redirection of funds was made in consultation with stakeholders and out of moral responsibility.
So the $210,000 donation will now help support MSF's emergency medical work on the ground in Gaza, including trauma surgery, post-operative care, and mental health support in areas where hospitals remain operational.
And Huda Katna, founder of Huda Beauty, everyone knows, has been vocal in her support for Palestine, often using her platform to raise awareness. This latest move reflects a broader trend of brands aligning with urgent humanitarian causes during conflict.
Look, when it comes to this,
told me something in the morning.
Look, I'll get into that one later, but I think when I take a look at this topic, I know that there are a lot of critics who feel that Huda Kattan, founder of Huda Beauty, is particularly being performative in this case. But at the same time, when you, and I'll give you like different examples of why people come to this conclusion. For example, before she launched her entire podcast, Hotline something, before she launched it, I remember she was like, guys, I was going to launch this today, but because this has occurred in Palestine, I'm going to put it back and we'll launch it in another day. And this has happened a bunch of times. She is very vocal about the genocide, the ongoing genocide in Gaza, the mass starvation of Palestinians. She's extremely vocal. And for some people, this is almost performative. And in fact, Saint Levant, he's also been accused of the same thing. But whether it's performative or not, whether these people, whether this is all some kind of secretive marketing tactic, in the end of the day, the money is donated. In the end of the day, both sides are benefiting. So I think the argument of her being performative, it honestly falls flat, because in the end of the day, she's still donating it. Even if it makes her look super good, the donation is still going out. And, with Huda, she's so interesting, because if you think about it, have we ever actually seen Huda Beauty hang out with all of these A-list Hollywood celebrities? Like, let's actually...
Maybe one or two, maybe.
No, exactly. We never actually see her hanging out with them, which brings me to my point of why I don't think she's being performative. Basically, there was this interview that was done with this famous American journalist, I believe her name is Anna, with Tucker Carlson. And in this interview, she basically said how it is completely true that Israel sold weaponry to Azerbaijan to carry out the Armenian genocide. And in the comment section, Huda Kattan came and commented, all my Armenian friends say that this is true. And she commented about how Kim Kardashian will speak about the Armenian genocide, but she will never actually ever fault Israel or protest against what they're doing, which brings me to my point of why I don't think Huda Kattan is performative, because who would go against Kim Kardashian? I mean, this is the queen bee of all queen bees. So this is why I think that she is standing strong. She knows that she's a part of a region that really does support her. The lip gloss Clementina, I have the collection. I love her makeup. Her makeup is honestly great. I think this is a great cause, and we can't blame her, performative or not. It's doing great. What do you think, Majid?
I personally think whoever does whatever best and then gathers money is the best way to do it. If we've seen over the years, Live Aid is one of the examples, because recently there was some problem with it. And recently I also saw that there was one Live Aid event where actually they were short on money, and they got a call from the Dubai ruler, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, and he donated $1 million like this. I saw this post somewhere. I think Love in Dubai or someone, we also covered it.
Wait, so what company was it again?
Live Aid. Live Aid is a event where a concert happens. The biggest
Right.
stars in the world come, and then they gather money, and all that money goes to some cause or some effort. I think the first one was for Ethiopia
Yeah.
because there was a famine. It was 1980 something. Don't remember the exact date, but it started from there. The Live Aid, people performing. Now you can make a point like, oh, why are they dancing and jumping and then collecting money? Because that's the best they do. They're performers. They're performers. They'll do concert. They'll get gate money. They'll get a lot of money from
Right.
sponsors, and they'll give. So Huda Beauty, she's known for Huda Beauty, Huda Katan. She'll launch a product, sell the product, take the money, and give it to whichever cause she supports. And Doctors Without Borders, to be honest, throughout the Gaza conflict, throughout the genocide by Israel in Gaza, you see that these are one of the people. There's like 4 or 5 people who I really love the work that they've done. UNRWA, they've done the best. They were kicked out, literally kicked out of Israel by Israel because they were doing such a good work. And they were like, no, they're helping Hamas.
Or maybe
and this
it's
and that.
also because they're losing money, as Reuters revealed.
Which one?
Remember that article that you had sent? The fact
Oh,
that
the
they're losing
UNRWA,
money?
yeah.
I don't think that helped them
They're
either.
losing money because obviously they have so much to do
Yeah.
and the funding is limited.
It's
So,
so little.
obviously they can't do everything from that money. So I remember the last campaign Huda Katan did, Huda Beauty did, they gave the money. Remember? They were like,
Yeah.
oh, comment, and they presented their case. The money
They
went
chose
to
a
them.
comment. They chose a
Yeah.
person whose comment had the most likes.
And
But I think
even in this case, I remember I read an article on a local publication, I won't name them, but they did a whole piece on how everyone is criticizing Huda Katan for having a like very badly toned campaign around Palestine, that she's dancing and this and that, like tone deaf kind of a
You think-
campaign. I know, I'll send you the article. But yeah, go Google it and you'll find it that it's tone deaf. She's dancing, she's having fun while Palestinian kids are dying of starvation, hunger, all that. But again, she gathered money through that.
and she
That's her-
understands that people
Yeah.
don't want to keep getting.
Yeah, if she
the
goes on a video and starts
extremely-
crying, people will give money, but it won't have that effect. She launched
Do you
a
not see
product.
the meme of Selena Gomez when she was crying about Mexicans being deported from America? Look, I think in this case, Majid, I feel like we're seeing in like prime time that her actually reclaiming full ownership of her brand from TSG consumers has actually worked out for the better.
Yeah.
And now like
She's
this
very
really
open about
right,
everything, right?
Like this is really bringing me to the point of what if the reason why she reclaimed back ownership was to have not full control of the brand in the sense of the brand can publicly support support Palestinians, you know, because basically when TSG consumers bought stake in Huda Beauty, I believe in 2017, it had actually valued Huda Beauty at over $1 billion. You know, come now, Huda Beauty did not actually just reclaim full ownership by buying back the shares, but she also, you know, came in back in the line as CEO to fully spearhead the brand's marketing strategy and everything. And now I just have this feeling that she did that because she wanted to be completely vocal. And I feel like we're seeing how, you know, these things, they can be so hostile, especially in the Ben & Jerry's situation with Unilever. You know, Unilever buying Ben & Jerry's, and Ben & Jerry's just having a completely different set of morals and ethics. And it has caused the clash of time. It really has. So I feel in this case, what if Huda Katan was trying to avoid that with TSG? Because we are seeing she's becoming more vocal and vocal and vocal. Like, it's just increasing.
You have to clarify here that maybe TSG wasn't pushing pressure on her to not be vocal. Maybe. There is a chance. But the idea is whenever you have a partner with you, you also take care of their interests, okay? So TSG, even if they allowed Huda to do whatever she wanted to do, she still had to go to them and be like, can I do this? I think that is why being fully owned company now by Huda Katan, it gives her that liberty to not take permission from anyone. I'll do what I'll do. Like as the saying goes, you do you. So Huda Katan is like, I will do what I think is right. I don't need permission. Even I don't need to inform anyone.
Right.
So that's the good thing that comes with complete ownership. And I think still right now, even now and even 20 years, 30 years later, Huda Beauty will always be one of the most important entrepreneurs in the region
No, for
because
sure.
she started something which people love.
And you know,
Yeah.
Majid, it's so interesting. There's also this other argument that is basically saying the reason why Huda Beauty came out. I keep calling her Huda Beauty. It's so bad. Huda Katan, I'm so sorry. But the reason why Huda came out, this entire collab with Saint Levant, Clementina, it's orange, it's fun. It's like almost copying Road. So basically, Road is by Hailey Bieber. Hailey Bieber, she's quite the famous model, also the wife of Justin Bieber. And just very recently, she sold Road to Elf for $1 billion. And they basically had this entire campaign, this marketing campaign that went very famous, where they had this like pop-up, I believe in Europe, and it was all yellow, it was all lemons, and everyone was phrasing it. And so the fact that we saw that campaign and just right after, like give it a month, Huda Beauty in the most craziest collab with a male singer who does not use lip gloss, but he is very famous in the Palestinian scene right now. They collab about Clementina. It's almost like, do you see the similarity here?
You can obviously
I think
take
it's like
inspiration,
of course,
right?
of course they can. But I'm just bringing forward what everyone had to say.
Yeah.
The link with other global giants.
Yeah, but whatever she's doing, she's making money, and the good thing is she's sending that money to people
And she's really
who need
vocal.
help. Yeah, and we love it. Obviously, we love this initiative that she's taken. Every once in a while, she is doing something. Last time it was 1 million dirhams. This time it's $210,000, nearly 700, 800,000 dirhams. So it's not bad money, and the people actually need it. We'll talk about this more in the next story. But right now, some people need help, and Etihad Airways, the Abu Dhabi-owned giant, owned by ADQ basically, says it's open to hiring Wizz Air Abu Dhabi employees as the low-cost carrier prepares to exit the UAE market. In an interview with Khalij Times, Etihad CEO Antonaldo Neves said the airline is totally open to recruiting talent from Wizz Air Abu Dhabi.
So Wizz Air Abu Dhabi, a joint venture between Abu Dhabi's ADQ and Hungary based will cease operations from September 1st, putting about 450 employees at risk of job loss. So they've Nevis acknowledged the challenge but said we need people. I'm sure that other airlines are also going to try it. This is business as usual.
And Etihad is already in hiring mode as part of a major growth push. We've seen that with Emirates also, the Dubai-based airlines. They're hiring 17,000 something people.
Wow.
Emirates, the last number I saw was 17,000 people they're hiring. So yeah, Etihad is also following suit. But Neves confirmed that the airline plans to take on around 2,500 new employees in 2025 alone, including 350 pilots and 1,500 flight attendants every year.
So Etihad is also preparing for a significant fleet expansion. By the end of this year, the airline expects to receive 22 new aircrafts and grow its total fleet to between 200 and 220 planes within the next 5 years.
And Wizz Air Abu Dhabi winding down, they're closing. Everyone knows very weird reasons given. I think one of the weirdest reasons was, it's so hot here. Etihad's expanding footprint could offer a lifeline to displaced aviation workers. If I remember correctly, if Etihad is hiring 2,500, Wizz Air had like 450 staff, which needs a job. So it's very nice that they can assimilate into Etihad's operations. Neves also concluded, he said that Etihad recruits globally and welcomes resumes from across the industry. It's not only the Wizz Air employees, they're ready to, they're open to anyone who wants a job with Etihad. And I think it's one of the, I won't say it's one of the biggest, it's the second biggest in the UAE after Emirates. Sorry, Etihad, Emirates is better.
Majid, do you know how much of Etihad ADQ actually owns?
Etihad, all of it. Because
Okay.
whenever Antonaldo Neves, we've done a lot of stories because they're going for an IPO. They've delayed the IPO so much. It was supposed to be last year. Then they were like, on Eid, we'll do it. Then after Eid, the markets crashed because Mr. Trump was ready for tariffs. Also, August 1, all the tariffs will reactivate. Whoever hasn't done a deal with Trump will get the actual tariffs that he announced in March. So all of that happened, and Etihad has been delaying it.
Yeah.
And whenever Antonaldo Neves has been asked when, He said whenever ADQ says yes,
Yeah.
another board says yes.
Because I wanted to just add in that ADQ owns 51% stake of Wizz Air.
Yeah.
And
It was a joint venture.
the other 49% is owned by what's it called, Wizz Air Holdings, and that it's actually a publicly traded European. What's it called? It's publicly traded there. But my point is that it's so interesting that they're pulling out of Abu Dhabi because of the heat, but their CEO is also saying that they're gonna be, starting operations in Israel. It's
starting flights back, right?
And in addition, what also happened is their Q1 profit estimates didn't actually work out the way they wanted them to. So their budget, they were projected to have $90 million in profits, but they only got $30 million in profits. That is a horrible drop. That is like a 60% drop.
I think they came to the market. They did good for a few years because, again, you remember we discussed, I'll give you a very weird example. It's a food delivery example. You remember we did the Kita example, which launched in Saudi, and Meituan is the head parent company which holds Kita brand. They came into the market. If other people, Hunger Station and all, were getting 7 reals for delivery, they were like, no, we'll take 1.5. Wizz Air tried the same formula. They came to the market and they were like, oh, you get a flight to Saudi Arabia for 350, we'll give it to you for 250. They tried that. Obviously, they have to leave because Europe, obviously, they don't have big competition in Europe. And even if there is competition, is on 10 euros, 15 euro difference. In Abu Dhabi, they had to fight with giants. I would again say you can't fight with state-owned companies. You can't fight with Etihad,
I don't think it's just
Dubai.
fighting with giants. I don't think it's just a case of competition.
It's just the competition is
It's
stiffer.
a case. It's not even competition, Majid. It's a society. The society here loves luxury. That is exactly what they love. You're surrounded by a lot of ultra high net worth individuals who want to fly in class.
Yeah.
They're not going to fly with Wizz Air. They're going to fly with Emirates Airlines. I feel like there's certain things that not even rich people would cheap out on.
I think if the difference is 100, 150 dirhams, people will be like, no, I'll fly Etihad. Right? And if the difference between Fly Dubai and Emirates, same flight, same day, same time, nearly the same day, I would go for Emirates because it's like a $250 dirham difference. So I will fly Emirates because I know I'll get that. Even in the worst, like economy class, I'll get the treatment of a king, even if I'm not sitting in business or first class, right? So that 200, that value addition, it's very important for a lot of people that I will give 200 dirhams. I just want to fly comfortably, right? So cheap airlines, they work, they're very good, they help a lot, but I think Dubai, Abu Dhabi, the people have been spoiled so much because the difference between the lower carrier and the high carrier is not that much. Sometimes, obviously, when there is a season, like right now, everyone will start coming back to the UAE because the summer holidays will be over. Then the difference will be higher. It will go to 600 to 1,000 dirhams between Fly Dubai and Emirates, obviously. But in the normal season, it's like 200 dirham difference. I've flown that and I was like, I should have spent that 200 dirhams extra and gone to Emirates, right? Also, the convenience factor, we never talk about this, or we always miss this point. There is a convenience factor. Metro goes to the T3 and T1 where Emirates flights take off from. It doesn't go to T2, so you have to literally take a taxi. So wherever you're from, you spend at least 40, 50 dirhams. I spend 150 because I live on the other side of Dubai. I spend 150 dirhams to just take a taxi to T2, the Terminal 2 of the Dubai airport. So it's again the same, right? If I go to T2, instead I should spend 300 more and buy an Emirates ticket, take the metro, travel easily, just sit. I'll be thrown at the terminal, I'll just go inside, right? So there's convenience, because there's a lot of things that people actually take into account when all of this is happening. I just think Wizz Air came to the region, they thought they would be good. They did good for 2-3 years.
Look, there's not many cheap steaks in this region. Yeah. There's not many cheap steaks in this region.
And they're running away back to Europe, where they're most profitable, and they want to stay there. There's just one comment from Pera, P-E-R-A, if I'm saying your name wrong, sorry, but they talked about the 90 million that you said and say, oh, it's a terrible drop of profits. So yeah, thank you for the comments. You can, if you're listening, you guys can also comment. We'll read your comments.
Yes, we will.
We'll just make you a part of the conversation. And the last story for today is...
And the last story for today is Wamda Capital's founder Fadi Ghandour has issued a very powerful condemning of the mass starvation unfolding in Gaza. In a public statement, Ghandour said, "Those who see this horror and don't condemn it are not human. Pure evil." Now, his words come as reports confirm that starvation deaths in Gaza have now surpassed 120, including more than 80 children, and the estimates are probably more.
Yeah. According to Al Jazeera, 2 more infants have died from malnutrition in the last few days. Every day we see a picture or some death reports, which is very sad, to be honest, in a world which is full of, it's full of science. It's a very difficult topic to talk about. It's full of science. We're growing tomatoes in the desert. Pure harvest is one of the examples that we're doing everything that was like humanly impossible 10, 20 years ago. And even in this time and age, if kids are dying, if people are dying of starvation because Israel doesn't let the aid go in, Israel doesn't let the food go in, it's not even evil. It's pure, I don't know what I should call it.
It's criminal. It's absolutely criminal.
It's crazy. But yeah, a lot of kids have died of malnutrition. It has brought a lot of attention on the humanitarian crisis, the catastrophe that's happening in Gaza right now because of Israel's ongoing blockade. They've eased the sanctions overnight. Last night I was reading something that UAE dropped a few aid packages. Other countries have started dropping aid packages. People are literally surviving on water for multiple days. I remember Rich recently, we have 2 people who work from Palestine for us, Fadi and Faris, 2 people who work from there. And the other day, Rich shared a message from them on his stories, our owner, and they were like, it's nearly impossible for us to work right now because of the weakness, because we haven't eaten it's for 2-3 days. And in this time and age, I'll say again and again, in this time and age when billions and billions are going into AI, which is like, we can live without AI. We've been living for like centuries without it, where billions and billions are going into arms, buying arms, selling arms, firing arms. Why can't you just let people have the basic necessity of food and water?
I mean, that's a basic answer. They're just trying to eradicate all of them.
Yeah.
That is really what it is here.
Yeah.
And Fadi Ghandour, who is speaking up, is a prominent Jordanian Lebanese entrepreneur who is also the founder of the logistics giant Aramix, the first Arab company to be listed on Nasdaq. Now, he now leads Wamda Group, a major force in the region's startup ecosystem, backing ventures across the Middle East and North Africa.
And his remarks come as criticism mounts over the US-funded Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. The organization, reportedly run by a former CIA officer, is under fire after Israeli forces allegedly opened fire on civilians gathered to receive its aid deliverables, raising serious concerns about the safety and coordination of humanitarian efforts.
And so with global figures like Ghandour speaking out, calls for accountability and immediate international actions are growing louder, but for many in Gaza, the situation does remain unchanged, desperate, dangerous, and worsening by the day. I think that right now, the best thing we can do right now is to amplify and support creators who are really making a difference. Now, me and Majid do always go out of our way to pick up on stories that can amplify the voices of Palestinians more, or basically speak against the hypocrisy in the West. But someone that I would follow is Youssef Ahmed. He's a great journalist. He has a channel called Scene TV Palestine, I believe, and the work that they're doing is absolutely amazing.
You were there when we interviewed them?
I did interview
Rich
him.
Was there
I did
interview
him with
I
Rich,
met him
but
briefly at Web Summit. Didn't have a long chat, but yeah, very interesting person. I see
he
his
is.
videos.
He's really great. But I think with this entire situation, Majid, it's so interesting how you now have so many Western voices who are drawing the comparison between Hitler and in 1945 to what is going on right now. And I think the worst possible thing that is happening to Palestinians is this is all happening to them within their homes, within their land. With Adolf Hitler, he would create concentration camps. He would send people to Bergen-Belsen, Auschwitz, and you have Netanyahu. You have Israel. This is their own land. Imagine you're just and they're sitting under tents. They're sitting in their own homes, and this is the kind of treatment that they get. I mean, It's absolutely horrid. It is, and I understand what you mean in this kind of generation where there's trillions of dollars all around us. It's so easy to take them out of this.
Yeah, like historically, whenever someone talked about Africa, you've seen the pictures. Those pictures have won awards in when it came to Africa and the famines. And again, at that point, even there was so much money in the world, and you couldn't help a kid who was hungry. That's it. And exact same thing has been happening since October 7th. Since this, it's not like it's not possible. They're just not allowing it. How bad can you be? How evil can you be? That's the question. And we don't have an answer to it. I think no one has an
By
answer
the way,
to it.
I actually saw a video of Ben Gvir. So he's basically one of the ministers in Israel who got this international ban. His accounts have been frozen worldwide. He's not allowed to go to certain Western countries. Canada, Europe, the European Union, the UK have stood against him. But Ben Gvir basically came and said that it's like it's their right to starve Palestinians, and it's their right to not allow any aid, and that Netanyahu should not allow it while the hostages are there.
Yeah.
If you care about those so-called hostages so much, if you're restricting aid,
They're also letting in food,
aren't
right?
they gonna starve too?
Yeah.
It just does not make it makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, the other day I was reading this article. Ben Gvir is very staunchly mentioned in that article. I completely forgot it was Financial Times, Wall Street Journal. Who was it? I'm just looking for the link. But it's by New York Times. The whole report. It's called. The headline says everything. I won't read anything else. I won't tell you the details. You can go and read it.
Is it the one about the genocide? No, there is not a genocide.
How Netanyahu prolonged the war in Gaza to stay in power. That's the headline by New York Times. They went on, they found all the minutes of the meetings that happened throughout the October 7 attack, before it, after it. They have the conversations, and everything points to just one thing, that it's not a war against Hamas. It's not this article. It's not a war against Hamas. It's not a war against anything. It's not a war for Judaism. It's not a war against anti-Semitism. It's just a war to keep Netanyahu in power. That's what the article is. Just go read it and you'll know. And New York Times is not a small publication. Obviously, every publication has done something bad in their life throughout the decades.
But I'm not really their grandest supporter, though.
Yeah, I am not. I won't support all these Western publications.
It's almost as if like the writers do not all agree. You know, you have an opinion article coming out that no, there is not a genocide in Gaza, and then you have this one coming out like their newsroom is not in agreement.
I'll give you an example, very short example. In Pakistan, when I was working for the Express Tribune, so we're the publishing partners of the New York Times, I remember a lot of things would come to us from their side. So we were the publishing partners. We would just publish whatever they wrote. We never gave our opinion on it. But somehow we were the publishing partners, and the Express Tribune was a partner to the New York Times. We basically used a lot of their design skills and everything. So the idea was that we will have our own voice, our local voice, our Pakistani voice in the Express Tribune. The funny thing was that a lot of them were dictated somehow from them because we used their name. But the good thing was you need a very strong editor at the helm. I would give an example of which I'm not like doing something bad, like I'm not buttering him, but you need a very strong leader at the top. For us, Augustus Media, we have Richard Fitzgerald. He's listening, he listens to our podcast every day. I'm not buttering you. I'm just saying that you need a very strong figurehead. At the Express Tribune, we had someone. And he was very strong in his opinion. He was like, no, we will not take this line, we will take this line. Likewise, in our company, we have a very strong, very clear storytelling that, we will call it a genocide. We did a lot of, remember the Love in Dubai, the last slide would be the deaths in Palestine for a long time. I think we did it for a good whole year. We got a lot of firepower turned to us for that, but these are Hamas numbers, these are this. We were quoting the Palestinian Health Authority. I don't know what other, if something happens in the UAE and something happens in Saudi Arabia, even if something happens in Israel, you will quote the ministry, right? Ministry is the best official statement that you can get.
Yeah.
We were quoting Palestinian Health Authority, we got. So you need just one good head figure. The problem with these big publications,
they don't have
Western publications,
I feel that they don't have
the person
too many.
at the top is confused.
I don't think
They
it's just
don't
a
have a
person at the
person who's
top.
strong enough.
You need a diverse newsroom for people to speak
Yeah.
up and say, hey, this is not the kind of person that we want here. This is not the kind of person that we want to interview. Like, I remember even with Tinder
No,
swindler.
see, to be honest, as a journalist, I would love to interview Netanyahu. Not because that I would sit across him and read the questions that he's given me. I would love to ask
To
him
hold him
point
accountable?
blank in his face, looking in his eyes, that how can you let this happen? I would love to do it as a journalist, as a human being, or as a person, as a Muslim, as anything else apart from a journalist. I would never even want to talk to him. But as a journalist, I would love to sit in front of him, look into his eyes, and be like, why? What's your logic? I want to know right in front.
But he's told everyone his logic. He's told.
He will lie.
I remember there was
but I
this.
just want to ask him that
But
question.
he won't lie.
It's a
There
journalistic
was-
duty, right?
He lies, but I remember there was this video, Majid, where he was holding up this map, and if you actually look very closely at the
Yeah.
map, you can clearly see what countries Israel wants to take over. They have an agenda. It is all there if you look very closely. And I think that's a wrap for today, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into the Smashy Business Show. Make sure to follow us across all social media channels at Smashy Business and stay ahead with our daily newsletter. You'll find the subscription link in the description.
And this has been a Smashy Business Show, Smashy Business production, part of the Augustus Media Podcast Network. A big shout out to our 2.2, I think. Now we've reached 2.2 million monthly listeners across all our platforms under Augustus Media. That's Levant Brands, Smashy Brands, all of them. If you're interested in any city, go to the Levant Brands. If you're interested in one of Smashy Business, Smashy Sports, Smashy Entertainment, you can go to them. Listen to our daily podcast. We love to bring that information for you. And if you're one of them who's sharing or telling other people about us, we love you, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for making it possible. We'll see you tomorrow on Tuesday. Have a great day.